You're tuned in to Iconic Sonics.
Welcome back to Iconic Sonics. My name is Danny Ball. I'll be your host. We've got Damien Wilkins on the podcast today. He was a Sonic for 4 years. He talks about his time in Seattle, what he did on his off days, his memories of the SuperSonics, what it was like playing with Kevin Durant as a rookie. But before we get into that, 3 quick updates that I want to run through. Bill Simmons had a bunch of comments on expansion this week that I got hit up about. I got hit up by a bunch of people about what's going on at the Pro Club in Bellevue and how they're destroying a historic Sonics court, and also just some updates about Iconic Sonics that we want to share as a whole. My first point and what I'll start with is talking about Bill Simmons and his takes on his podcast about expansion. And I'll start by saying that 30 for 30, Grantland, The Ringer, all of those things that Bill has created has had a huge effect on how I consume and create sports. But with that said, Bill the producer and Bill the sports talking head are 2 very different people. In short, Simmons made 2 points on his podcast. He said that the league is leading on Seattle again and that expansion is not a done deal. He used an analogy saying that if everybody sold their house on your block and you said, wow, that's a lot more than I thought they would get for their house, you would probably want to test the market and see how much your house is worth. The rest of the houses on the block, in this case being the Celtics and the Lakers, and the NBA wants to see how much they can get for expansion teams. And this part I agree with. We are just at the bidding stage. This is just a process step. It is not the finish line. However, his second point is where I have some pushback. Simmons' second point is that he says they don't have the votes from owners to get this done once Seattle and Vegas make their bids. And while this is a real possibility, and we've reported and talked about James Dolan leading a group of anti-expansion owners, Simmons claims that there are 13 owners he knows or, quote, probably not into expansion, mainly leaning on the they are already rich enough argument. And while Simmons loves to reference what he's heard from his friends in the, quote, rich guy circles on various topics, even outside of expansion, the part that he's conveniently leaving out in his argument is that these guys are businessmen. And while yes, they may already be rich, the potential expansion price for a team a few years ago, even in less than 2 years ago, actually, was $4 to $6 billion. That's the numbers that we heard from Brian Windhorst on this podcast, that we heard from David Aldridge on this podcast. And now the base number is 7. Fully clearing the expected ceiling price from just a couple short years ago. And that shifts the financials greatly. And we've heard from multiple sources that, yes, getting the money together is a process, but that there's also no shortage of people that are ready to get in line to bring back the Sonics or to bring a team to Vegas where they don't even have NBA history yet. And so overall, Simmons has been a supporter of the Sonics for a very long time. As a preeminent basketball historian, he's helped keep the team's name in the public eye, and that's great, and I applaud him for that. But this current take from Bill seems to mostly be structured around what he said last summer in July 2025, where he said there's growing buzz that the Pelicans might move to Seattle. And while Adam Silver has come out and said that relocation isn't on the table, and as Bob Whitsitt said on this very podcast, relocation is never something that is on the table. He believes, he being Bill Simmons, that the consolation prize for expansion not happening this time around after leading Seattle on again could be moving the Pelicans to Seattle. And at this point, I'm just ready to have a team back. I totally get it. And I know that that route would be kind of disastrous and uprooting another team, but we just want Seattle back. And so it looks like and feels like what Bill wants is an I told you so moment where he's saying, look, I called it. They're not going to do expansion, but they're going to move New Orleans because of the crowd, because of the arena, because of all of the circumstances to Seattle. And I think he just really wants his kind of windy double point in the sky moment. And so overall, yes, we should be cautiously optimistic. It's what I've been saying for so long, but I just have to reiterate, like we do have to be cautiously optimistic. We're headed in the right direction, yes, but if you're sick of the up and downs of this news cycle and being led on, I really and truly cannot blame you, and I totally get that. But what I'd also say is this: why not choose to believe? After Sue Bird left, did the Storm fans give up? Are Mariners fans punting on this season because they're off to a slow start? Did Seahawks fans stop going to games because they got picked to finish 3rd in their division? No, they damn sure didn't. And so I would encourage all of you to be cautiously optimistic with us and keep the faith. My second point, and man, does this one really suck. I got hit up by multiple people yesterday and the day before that about a situation going on at the Pro Club in Bellevue. They were recently bought by a conglomerate called Bay Clubs, and they are destroying the former Sonics practice court and the former 1989 Final Four court from the Kingdom that the Final Four was played on, in favor of putting their shitty little logos on it and adding pickleball courts to the gym. Not only are we losing space and history, we're doing it in the name of pickleball. And it really gets even worse. They called a meeting with members that they know to be big basketball players and essentially told them to go ahead and cancel their memberships. And then on top of that, I heard from multiple sources that the Kraken ownership group was interested in preserving the courts and paying the club so that they would be made whole. And the club ignored these offers and pushed forward with their plans for reshaping the court and literally sanding off the history that is a part of the wood that lies within their gyms. It's absolutely insane. It's corporate greed at its worst. They're throwing away history to maximize profits, and the corporate buyout of the club has left other former members and current members complaining about the overall quality of the facilities and the amenities. And it's similar to when the team actually left Seattle. There's a business that is taking no consideration of the culture and the community that has been built, and it's absolutely disgusting. I had to make a point to come on the podcast today and call that out because so many people have reached out, and we got such a great response from the community about wanting to keep those courts and preserve those courts. And the fact that they ignored people who wanted to make them whole on those courts and preserve them is just absolutely crazy. My last and third point is the exact opposite. I want to highlight two of our partners and two businesses that do believe in the Sonics return. Simply Seattle and the Edgewater Hotel are great. Simply Seattle has the largest selection of Sonics retail gear that you'll find. They just opened up their U Village location. And as some of you know, I work for Simply, so I obviously have stake in both sides, but they truly have an amazing selection of Sonic stuff. Gary Payton will be at their U Village location on the 21st doing a signing and meet and greet. Be sure to keep an eye out for that on our socials as well as their socials. And of course, the Edgewater Hotel. It's one of the most iconic spots to stay in town. The weather's starting to get nice in Seattle. You want to be down by the water. You got great waterfront views, great rooms, great vibes, and easy access to Pike Place and the piers. It's a no-brainer for a vacation or a staycation in Seattle. So thank you to them for hosting some of our favorite live podcast events and always supporting the show. We are also looking to expand our team, so if you're interested in working with me and the rest of the Iconic Sonics squad, please reach out via Instagram. We also have a brand new LinkedIn page you can reach out to. Send us some samples of your work. We'd love to add you to the team. That is way more than usual for me on an intro, so let's get right into this interview with Damien Wilkins. He was born in Washington, North Carolina, and was a 4-year Supersonic. He scored a career-high 41 points wearing the green and gold and was a part of the final Sonics team ever. Our guest today is Damien Wilkins. Damien, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you guys? Thanks for having me.
Of course. Thank you for being here. Welcome to Iconic Sonics. We appreciate you stopping by the show. Excited to chat. I feel like the most obvious place to start is we got some recent news about NBA expansion and rumblings that a team could come back to Seattle. And I just wanted to gauge what your feelings were when you started to hear about that as somebody who played for the Sonics.
That excites me, man. I was sad. I've been sad ever since the Sonics left. Obviously, playing for the Sonics and playing for OKC, I'm happy to see OKC's success. And then also I wish that it was happening in Seattle because those fans deserve it. But I'm excited about it. Can't wait to see how it all comes together and what the team is going to be like. I'm sure the fanfare is going to be insane. Um, Hoping that I get the chance to work with them, somewhere in the front office. So we'll see. Fingers still crossed with that.
Well, we would love to see that too. I think as many former Sonics as we can bring back to be a part of that process, we're all for it. Get some familiar names and some familiar faces. I mean, I feel like on that, I was going to go in a different direction, but we got talking about, before we jumped on, just briefly, you being at OTE, Overtime Elite, and player development. Where, in your mind, is the league at talent-wise? Is this the most talented? Do you think we can support 30 more roster spots? What does that look like talent-wise in the NBA right now?
It's plenty of basketball talent out there. Especially with the group of guys that's coming in now, the group of guys coming in after them. These next few classes are going to be really good. And then, there's talent spread out around the NBA that can, definitely support 30 more roster spots. I don't see an issue with that at all.
And I mean, I think your career is even like a good, kind of parallel to where the league is at today. You played in what at the time was the D League. You played overseas. You played, pro hoops. that all three of those places are exactly where I think you can dip into the talent. You've got guys at the end of the bench that could be getting more minutes. You've got guys in the G League now. You've got more international talent than ever before. So it definitely feels like that. And I guess what I would also love your take on, maybe that's a Freudian slip right there, but is talent versus tanking. We obviously have some teams at the bottom of the league right now. And I think the biggest thing for me is that I think the league can solve this. This doesn't feel like something that's an unsolvable issue. But where do you kind of land, and what do you think is going to happen here with kind of the way that the NBA is going to have to go about resolving tanking?
I mean, look, it's the NBA's fault,
Right.
right? Like when you really think about it, tanking has been the bad teams have been rewarded for since the end of time. So teams see draft classes like the one we're about to see, um, and they think to themselves, well, how can I get one of these guys that can be a franchise changing guy, right? So in order to get to the top of that draft, you have to be a pretty bad team. And that's again been the case since the beginning of time. So I think in some ways the league is responsible for it. And then in other ways, obviously tanking and it affects the integrity of the game. So yes, there has to be something regulated about it. But at the end of the day, how are you going to get to the top of the draft? Like you got to be bad, and that doesn't mean you have to go out there and purposely lose games. But again, at the same time, like your record has to reflect, that reason for you being at the top of that draft or getting snagging one of these guys that's can change your whole franchise. So they're in a bit of a pickle. But like you said, I agree that it's not something that can't be solved.
Can't be solved, and it's not a talent problem, right? Like there's more than enough guys that could be out there playing if their teams or front offices would let them, I think is
For
the other
sure.
thing. Let's get on to happier topics and maybe wax a little bit of nostalgia. You were saying that you missed the Sonics and you've been sad since they left. I think it's always interesting. I'm obviously very biased. I think that everybody wants the Sonics back. After the news came out, we heard some rumblings of like, oh, maybe we shouldn't do this. Maybe it's not the right time. We can't add two more teams. But I think you have a unique perspective of being a former player, being somebody who's in a family of former NBA players. What's the overall sentiment that you hear when it comes to Seattle in the 18 years since the team left? Like, how do people talk about it?
Jeez, it's been 18 years?
Almost 17 and a little. I'm rounding up a little bit, but almost 18, yeah.
Goodness. That just really hit me hard. I didn't realize that. Listen, I think it's great. Like, I think it's great. To take this because you already have proof of concept, right? Like when you really think about it, it's already worked in Seattle. So, for you'll be foolish to think it can't still work. Um, I don't think there's a lack of talent. I think you can field another team and two. Um, and I think the fans would love it. I think the community would love it. I think they'd be embraced. I think it'll be an an amazing, thing to have another team out there. And it gives guys who've never been to Seattle the I think probably most of the NBA now today has probably never played in Seattle, unless they might have been there for a college or a high school tournament or something. But I think it'll be great, man. It's a great market. It's an amazing sports town. So like why not? And all the sentiments I've heard, people have been excited about it. So
Overwhelmingly excited feels like the kind of the narrative. There's obviously always going to be a couple naysayers and stuff. One thing to your point about guys having not played in Seattle, this current Hall of Fame class was up for they had named the finalists, and we were getting close to when they were going to name the people that got in. And Brett, our producer, and I got talking, and what I identified was that Blake Griffin would have been the first guy to be in the Hall of Fame that had never played against the Sonics. Granted, there's some guys earlier before the Sonics were invented, but since the Sonics were founded in '67, he would have been the first guy to get in that had never played against the Sonics because his career started after they moved to Oklahoma City. So it's literally being, not actually, but it slowly is being erased from the record books. So we're getting further and further away from where they land in the record books. And so it's good to hear that the overall sentiment is happy. You were talking talking about just even Seattle as a city and a place to be. And I think something that's fun about this show is like, I would love to sit here and talk to you about when Kevin Durant hit a game winner on the night that you scored 41 points. And we'll probably get to that later in this episode. But when you think back to Seattle, were there places that you went to that you liked going to? Or what did an off day kind of look like for you in Seattle, just around the city?
Oh man, Nordstrom's was my go-to. They had the cafe in there. I used to go in there and eat. Um, Joey's. I used to go down to Joey's after games, and sometimes during days when we had off days to go grab lunch. Obviously, Pike Place is a staple, and I still say to this day, I literally just said it about a week ago that Seattle has the best Benihana I've ever been to in my life. And I think because all the seafood there is so fresh. Um, but yeah, man, I mean, it's lots to do, and that was then. So I can imagine how much it's grown since then and what it is now.
Nordstrom's still around. Can promise you that. So when you make your way back, I'm sure they'll be there. What about just like any Sonics nostalgia? I work at Simply Seattle, and we have a bunch of Sonics gear. Did you take anything? Do you still have anything that you have from your 5 years? Well, again, 4 years, I guess, in Seattle.
Yeah, I have my shorts. I still have my warm up. I still have some shirts and stuff that I from there. What else do I have? My son took my practice jersey. I don't know why he wears that still to this day.
I hope he washed it.
Uh, yeah, that part too is just always on the floor in his room. What else? I have a couple hats. I mean, that green and gold isn't going anywhere, right? Like it's not going anywhere. I loved all that stuff. That was my first team, so that was my baby. Like everything Seattle brings back so many wonderful memories.
What's the last time you were up in Seattle?
My best friend lives in Seattle now. He had a wedding there 2 years ago, and I went to his wedding, and I was just remember riding around thinking to myself, like, wow, this place is really different. And it's so much money in Seattle, so it's that wasn't even surprising really because I knew that the city would eventually start to evolve over time, just like most cities do. So it was just great to be there, to be a part of it. It still felt like I was a long way from home. I remember having that feeling when I first went there. I was like, it feels like I'm 5 hours of a flight away. Like it feels like I'm far away from Georgia. But I enjoyed my time there
I think it's one of those places that is, as I've kind of been alluding to, it feels like the basketball is such a unifying thing, and that's what like was able to really kind of make guys settle in, was that it was a place that appreciated basketball, even if the 5 hour flight away was felt.
Oh yeah, and the what's the day that everybody goes on the boat?
Seafair.
Yeah, Seafair. Like I remember being at Seafair like the first summer I was there, and I was just like, this is amazing. Like,
Give me a Seafair story, because that's
uh,
like a Seattle classic.
yeah, I remember being on a boat and riding by what's the rich guy's house?
Bill Gates.
Yeah, and he had like it was like security guards out there with like big guns standing like by the thing, and I was like, who the hell lives there?" Like, but yeah, it's just man, like the perfect summers, right? Like 75-degree, 80-degree weather, no humidity, no wind. It was absolutely beautiful, man. I'll never forget that.
I always say that, the thing around here is that Seattle doesn't start summer until July 5th. But between then and like September, we got a case for best city in the
For
U.S. Like
sure.
this, it's just an unbelievable thing. And it's fun too. I think it's rainy all year, and then the summer months come around, everybody gets a little antsy and cut out of work early. And so I'm like, all we need now is to be able to go to Sonics games in May and May and June. Um, Talk to me about Nate McMillan was your coach. He's Mr. Sonic. He was your first coach ever in the NBA. What was that relationship like? As somebody that obviously he had spent a bunch of time in Seattle as a player and then was there coaching, and just I don't know. Nate has such a special way about him, and I feel like is highly regarded by all the guys that played for him or played with him. What kind of relationship did you and Nate have?
We have a great relationship still to this day. I just saw Nate last weekend in Oklahoma City. I was out there visiting the Thunder for Legacy Night, and
Oh, cool.
they were playing the Lakers. And I talked with him. We chopped it up and got caught up with each other. Like that's still my favorite coach ever. He and Lawrence Frank are my two favorite coaches, and just catching up with him, it always means a lot. It always, good feelings, and that's my guy, man.
I mentioned this one earlier too, but I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about the 41-point night in Atlanta of all places. Was that extra special because it was at home, and then obviously there's the Kevin Durant buzzer beater? But tell me just about like that first. You're playing back in kind of your hometown, and I'm sure you had people there that night. What was it like for you?
It was. I mean, surreal. I just got going and got into that kind of flow state, and it was just all I really remember is the game winning shot. Like that's the thing about the games. It got I just I kind of got lost in the game. I did realize that I was playing at home, so it felt very familiar, and I was very comfortable, during that game out there. But I just got into a rhythm, and I just kept making shots. I am still mad at Kevin Durant. I tell him this all the time. I think that, well, actually, not even him. Wally Zerbiak is the one who made the pass to Kevin Durant, and I feel like I was open. So every time I see Wally, I'm like, dude, like you owe me a game winner, bro. Like I was supposed to win that game for us.
That could have been 44 rather
Yeah,
than 41.
yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm glad KD hit that shot, but I was really upset for a while. Like, bro, like you go to the hot guy at the end of the game, man. Like, but yeah, I joke with them about that all the time, man, and I still remember that to this day. I still have the game footage of it. I like going back watching that one.
I can't even imagine as scoring 40 in the NBA. I'd be rewatching that at least once a week. Kevin Durant's name just came up, and you played obviously with him here, and then for a year in Oklahoma City. Still got a relationship with him. What's it like watching him?
He's amazing. He's amazing, man. Like Katie and I, we talk pretty often, but he's amazing. Like just a pure hooper. And I love guys who are pure hoopers because that's what I am to this day. Like I just love the game, and you could tell that he just loves playing basketball, always has. Nothing about him has changed. He's still one of the hardest working guys I know. And that's super impressive, considering all he's accomplished. But seeing his evolution from the time that we met to the time that right now, I mean, it doesn't seem like he's slowing down anytime soon.
And I think that comes with the rumblings that have also been heard, whether it's Spencer Haywood saying every time he sees Kevin Durant, that Kevin Durant tells him, I'm going to finish my career as a Sonic. I think that's exactly where my mind goes, is that it doesn't look like he's slowing down. What's one thing maybe though that like the average NBA fan who watches Kevin Durant, we all know him as this unbelievable scorer. He makes everything look so easy. But what's one thing that like the average fan doesn't know or wouldn't appreciate about a guy like that?
Um, I don't know if there's anything that people haven't noticed. He's been pretty much an open book most of his career.
Maybe a little too much at times.
Yeah, yeah. KD is just he cares deeply about basketball. He cares deeply about his success. He cares deeply about his development. So much so that like he's one of those guys that you look at and be like, man, he's actually getting better. Like when I watch him, I'm like, he's getting better. And how are you improving like now, right? So
Even post Achilles, I just saw the split between when he was injured and then
yeah.
after, and he's shooting a better percent. He's even more efficient from a guy who already was like one of the most efficient guys in the league, which is
Yeah,
just
I mean,
unbelievable.
it's unbelievable how talented he is.
I've had a conversation with some coaches past, George Carl, Nate, and I have talked about this as well. But as far as like the expansion kind of dynamic of it all, right? Like the NBA, if they do decide to come back to Seattle, we'll have an expansion draft. We'll have, a normal college, draft. But like when you're building that team, I guess, and you talked about being in the front office before, so I guess I'll lob it up as something as a, from kind of a GM perspective, but like, what would your approach be to like, do you want to go sign a big name? Like, obviously Kevin Durant has been rumored that, he would want to finish his career here, but you also have to kind of build an identity. And what would the identity of the Sonics return kind of look like in your mind? Is it gritty defense? Is it, 7 seconds or less up and down the court stuff? If you were building the team, Damien, what would that look like?
I would probably want to start with a fun style of play, right? Because it's a gamble on how good they'll be right out the gate, right? You already know that they'll probably, right out the starting gates, they'll probably struggle a little bit in terms of winning or success. But I would honestly look at the OKC model, and I know that's a little sensitive subject, but put feelings aside, I would start with their model and just try to build young, right? Because you'll have a bunch of guys who, again, probably are unfamiliar with Seattle, and then bringing in a name, that's familiar with with the city and the just knowing the lay of the land, like
Yeah.
for instance, Paulo Banchero.
Another name that comes up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that could be a piece that kind of starts it, right? And like he can resurrect his own self there, and he has some familiarity with the city itself, being that he lived there. It's just like so many different ways you can get creative with it. Like I don't think you go, try to go super veteran team. I think you go young, try to, play a fun style of play, and have these guys just, get up and down and put on a show, and then kind of just build from there. Like your first 2 to 3 years will probably be, again, like I said, in terms of winning, you probably might be a small struggle a little bit, but like look at the Spurs, look at OKC, look at those teams, the Knicks even, who are just kind of keep building their thing, right? And you never know what type of free agents will be available to you once that team gets started. So I think you try to get a name in there that's familiar, right? Like, and then you just kind of build around that depending on who that name is. Because you also want to be competitive, right? So you want to be competitive through those struggles, and um, but man, it's so many ways you can go with it. Considering how today's game is.
Yeah. Well, I think the Knicks example is a good one too. Of like they kind of took. We knew Jalen Brunson was good. We didn't know he was this good. I think like pretty widely, unless you were really close to the situation. I think. So I think that's an interesting example too of like who's a guy who maybe hasn't gotten the touches or the shots that he could, and try to work his way up a little bit. And I think the other thing about Kevin Durant, who we were just talking about, he's a basketball historian and loves Seattle and basketball history and stuff. Obviously, he played here, but I think even finding those guys, which is like a funny thing to be recruiting for, is like somebody who appreciates basketball history. But if you can find a guy that's excited to be in Seattle, I think it'll only be all the better. And then, yeah, try to get some young guys that buy in. To the young guys and stuff, tell us kind of what you've been up to lately, and just kind of update people. You were with OTE for a little bit and working with in the player development side, but where's Damien Wilkins at in his basketball journey today?
Yeah, I started when I retired in 2017. I started working for the Players Association, the NBPA, and then I left there and came to OTE. I was like one of the first 10 people hired there, so I kind of ran that program as the general manager and head of basketball, and then I stepped away from that in July of 2025 because I just wanted to pursue other opportunities. So I've been doing a lot of consulting. Um, with different people in the grassroots space. I've been doing, following my son around. My son is a junior, one of the top juniors in the country right now. So I've been following him around and going through his process. So it'd be great to be in the front office in this new Seattle team and then draft my son, because that time will be right around then. But yeah, that's pretty much it, man. And just waiting for the right opportunity. I don't want to do something that I do for a short term, right? Like my next thing has to be something kind of long term, and that's what I'm working towards right now.
Asked earlier of like what's something about Kevin Durant that maybe the average NBA fan doesn't know. I think the other thing that I've started to really be curious about is how other people watch basketball. I'm very much like a pen and paper. I like to have something I can jot notes down on, so I'm not pulling up my phone and getting distracted or whatever. What does an average NBA viewing experience look like for you? Like, obviously, sometimes I imagine you're out having dinner or whatever, it's on in the background. But like, are you sitting down and intentionally watching games? Are you taking notes? What's that kind of process look like?
I take more mental notes than I do anything, but I watch the game from a different lens because I played it. So,
Right.
usually, typically watching it from my lens is a lot different than the average fan. Um, I see plays before they happen. I see passes that should have been made. I see shots that should have been taken, turnovers that shouldn't have happened, or rather how they happen. Um, I watch coaches' adjustments. I watch stuff like that. And then I pay attention to like how a team is constructed. Obviously, with my aspirations of working in the front office in the NBA, I pay attention to stuff like that too, just to see what people are doing. I watch guys like Sam Presti and the front office staff and people in the Spurs organization and just all the really, really good run organizations. I try to pay attention to. And then I also pay attention to the ones that's run poorly because you learn mostly from other people's losses, right? So I try to learn from them as well. It's just a learning experience for me whenever I watch the game.
Is there a team that you kind of have some faith in that maybe other people aren't believing in? Obviously, you mentioned the Spurs and OKC, who are kind of favorites to win it here. But is there an organization that maybe pops out that is doing something, whether it's a Minnesota or something like that, that maybe would interest people to think that you like what they're doing?
That's a really good question. I think I like the way Boston is plays. I love the way they play. I love the way they built their team. I'm a spacing and move the ball type of guy. I think if I coach, which I really never want to, but if I were to, I would probably try to play the same style that they play, just because it's just a beautiful brand of basketball. I mean, you could tell that they're well coached. You could tell that they're disciplined. They make the right play all the time. They defend. They finish plays with rebound. They're really intentional about how they work the shot clock and the game clock. I can tell that just by things that they do. If you watch Boston play, if it's ever a minute left in the quarter, they try to get as many possessions as they can within that minute. I can tell that they're really intentional about that. And that's something that a lot of teams probably don't even pay attention to. A lot of people don't even pay attention to. But I can tell the way they play. They try to get a quick shot with a minute and or less, and then they get the ball back and try to get another quick shot. So they're trying to basically get 3 to 4 possessions in a minute. And I love that strategy. It's because like they're trying hard to close out the quarter with momentum. And that again is a winning formula, right? Because it's a possession game. And knowing that they have the guys and the personnel who can put the ball in the basket from three, from inside the paint, get layups and stuff like that. It's just a really fun style of play to watch.
And one thing that I noticed that Joe Mazzulla does, and Steve Nash did it when he was in Brooklyn too, but if he has 7 seconds left and his best scorers on the bench, he will use that out of bounds dead ball to sub them back in and get Jaylen Brown one more good look, just like KD was coming back in for Steve Nash. And
Sure.
I've always loved that about them too, of like,
Sure.
we're going to make sure this is a really, really good last shot,
Yeah.
not just like and honestly, the other guy they put in is Peyton Pritchard because he hits so many 45-foot bombs or whatever.
Yeah.
So I've always loved that. This is a very specific question now because I'm thinking of Peyton Pritchard. Were you a get it up at the end of the shot clock or at the end of the quarter guy? Like, did you care about your percentages? They obviously changed the rule this year so that it becomes
Well,
a team
yeah,
miss.
yeah. When I was a rookie, I didn't care anything about that. I was trying to get as many shots up as I could. So yeah, Ray Allen would get doubled or Rashard Lewis would get doubled, and the ball gets swung to me, and I was like, "Well, my time to shine." So obviously you make those shots, and it's a big deal. If you miss them, no one really truly cares. So yeah, those sometimes are the easiest ones to take. The ones that you know you have to take.
I definitely will run the tape of your 41-point game, but were there some other memories of just watching guys have a career night or being around a guy that was super hot or whatever? Like, you just mentioned Richard or Ray, and they obviously had some games where they got crazy hot.
Yeah, I mean, it's a game in Phoenix that Ray had. I think he had like 50. That was crazy to watch. It was a game. I remember games when KD would get hot when he first came into the league, and I was just like, man, you could see the talent. Like you could see what he was about to be. Um, you know, playing with Earl Watson. I just reconnected with him, so playing with him was great. Um, who else? Who else? And I remember even practices that we had with Danny Fortson, who was like just an enforcer, and like who, quite frankly, my rookie year, I was literally afraid of. Um, so it, just going against those guys, man, and Flip Murray. Like I remember
Yep.
Flip when he was just when Ray got hurt and he had to play. That was the year before I got there, but I remember watching that, and then I remember getting to Seattle and then seeing him in practice. I was like, man, this dude is good. So yeah, just things like that I remember.
What is next for you? Do you think, as far as where this league is going? We've obviously seen the 3-point barrage kind of pop up. You work in player development. Is there another thing that we can kind of expect as far as style of play to come back? Are we going to start seeing post ups again? I mean, last night in the national championship, Michigan had 1 point outside of the paint. Obviously, the college game is not the NBA game, and they scored their first point outside of the paint with whatever 9 minutes left in the game. But just as far as where the game is going, and maybe what in a couple years, returning Sonics fans could expect to see on the court. What's kind of next for the NBA and the style of play in your mind?
I think they'll eventually. It's cyclical with basketball, with sports in general, but with basketball because that's my wheelhouse. It's cyclical. Like it's cyclical. Like it. You remember it started out as a half court game, everyone walking the ball up the floor and throwing it into the post and big barrel and big men just kind of doing their thing. I think we'll go back to seeing post ups. I think you'll go back to seeing a lot more wings and guards doing some posting up and some bigs stepping out, um, and being kind of perimeter playmakers. I don't think that style of play is going to change because the talent itself now, like you look at these guys, everyone's working to be versatile. No one wants to be one dimensional because of the style of play nowadays. And so I think you'll continue to see this for a while. Um, and you'll probably see a mix of some posting up and stuff like that. So because like what Shea Gildas Alexandra is doing, he's showing people that the mid range is not totally lost. What Kevin Durant is doing, showing you that the mid range is not totally lost. Like those guys are literally won games shooting mid-range shots. So, um, I think it depends on your personnel. I think you have to kind of, build your system around your personnel as opposed to vice versa. So when it's time for me to help build this Seattle team, I'm gonna build a fun team. That's for sure.
I'm excited to see, and I'm sure we'll come up with some sort of good nickname for the style of play, just kind of like the Showtime Lakers or something like that.
Yeah.
Last question for you about Jaden, who came up earlier, your son, high-ranked prospect. If he does end up on the Sonic, what number would you want him to wear? I believe you wore both 21 and 12 in your time here. Would you want to see him bring one of those back?
That would be great, but honestly, like with him, I've always preached to him to kind of write his own story.
Yeah,
And do his own thing and form his own identity. And right now he wears number 2, and that's okay with me. Like seeing him on the court is more important to me than what number he wears.
I love that. That's a great mentality, and it makes a lot of sense. Well, Damien, thanks so much for joining us, man. We'd
Thank
love to
you,
have you
man.
back as
Thank
as
you.
we get closer and closer to the Sonics return. And if you got anything else to plug, or where people can find you, or anything to promote before you sign off, let the people know.
Oh well, I'm on social media. Obviously, Instagram is Damien underscore Wilkins. Same thing with Twitter, Damien underscore Wilkins X. Um, that's about it, man. I just kind of be doing my thing, man. Like,
Awesome.
watching the game, trying to evolve the game, trying to push the game forward, and trying to do everything I can to help these guys in this grassroots space be as best as they can be.
That's great. Well, we can't wait to see you back in Seattle one day, hopefully sitting courtside with some green and gold on.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you, guys.